Balachandra, let's wait for Anna. I think she just left.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yes, Anna, you're back. Yes. So,
Sorry,
as I
sir, my
told you,
network is very
it's
weak.
okay, ma. Yeah. I know the network sometimes becomes quite unstable. That is the biggest challenge of these kind of online sessions. So, as I said, for this term, we are just going to raise the bar and jack up our rhetoric skills. You know, we are going to just intensify it a little more. Today, we are going to get into the minds of people who have delivered quite fascinating and mesmerizing TED Talks. And what makes those talks special? We are going to look at it. And I am, in this course of lecture, going to discuss with you some effective and appealing storytelling strategies. And the reason why I do that is in your 5-minute talk, you will be implementing these strategies which I'm going to discuss with you today. So here we go. Let me share my slide with you and then take you on a metaphorical journey of the strategies used by the TED speakers. And we can also look at the samples. I am not going to stream the video because we may run into some technical problems. So I'm just going to show you the transcript. Okay, so here we go. Let me share my screen and then start my talk. Just hang on. Slides.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Am
sir.
I presenting? I hope I am. Yeah. Anna? Hello? Anna, are you there? Okay. I don't know. She
Yes, sir.
has some problem with the microphone, I think. Okay. So let's
Yes,
go.
sir.
The first point. Yeah. See, when we talk about the magic, fine, Anna. The magic ingredient in delivering a great talk. This is how
Yes,
the
sir. Am I
title,
audible, sir?
is coined. Yes, you are audible, Anna. You are audible. So I just want you to apply these magic ingredients in your talk. See, that it is titled as the magic ingredient in delivering a great TED Talk. Now, usually the essence of TED Talks is only one single idea. So each one of you will go for a 5-minute recording and ask yourself this question. If you could leave your speak audience, that is your listeners, with only one takeaway message, what will be that one message be? And build on your presentation based on that one single idea. So that is the magic ingredient in delivering a great TED Talk. That is, pick one particular message which you feel is a key message, which may be instrumental in transforming people's thought patterns. Now we are going to look at some examples of what you can do to apply. I mean, how you can apply those magic ingredients. Now, magic ingredient one, although we have touched upon that, although not so comprehensively, but we have touched upon this. One great thing that all TED speakers have in common is that they are master storytellers. So, storytelling is an art. Now, you're all going to say a 5-minute story about your life. But the rest of my presentation, I am going to focus on how you need to narrate your stories. So, how do TED speakers narrate their stories? So, let's see. First of all, the first thing is called the story start. I took an example from a particular TED talk called as the power of introverts. May I have a volunteer to please read this particular paragraph? Anna, could you please read this?
Sir, can I?
Yeah, please. Yes, please go ahead, Anna. You're audible. Yeah, one of you can. Yes, Anna.
Okay. The Power of Introverts by Susan Cain. When I was 9 years old, I went off to summer camp for the first time, and my mother packed me a suitcase full of books, which to me seemed like a perfectly natural thing to do. Because in my family, reading was the primary group activity. And this might sound antisocial to you, but for us, it was really just a different way of being social. You have the animal warmth of your family sitting right next to you, but you are also free to go roaming around the adventure land inside your own mind. And I had this idea that camp was going to be just like this, but better.
Beautiful. So wonderfully articulated. See, this is how she starts. Susan Cain. I have just given you the link. This is a very popular talk in TED called "The Power of Introverts." She actually does not start her talk by saying that I'm going to talk to you about the power of introverts. She just like that starts narrating her own story, and it is a classic example that she spends a lot of time reading, which is a kind of an ample evidence to show that she's an introvert. And she's beautifully titled the talk as "The Power of Introverts" and how she finds books really intriguing. So that's a beautiful start. So you can have a great start like this. This is called as the story start. A story need not have a beginning, an end, and a conclusion. It could be something that has happened in your life that you would like to start off with. So great speakers start off just abruptly, and then they build on and make the audience understand the concept that they are talking about, rather than just jumping into the concept and revealing the concept, letting the cat out of the bag by saying that this is what I'm going to talk about, is one of the lousiest way to start a talk. So I want you to apply this strategy that is adapted by Susan Cain in her talk, The Power of Introverts. So the start of your 5-minute talk is what matters. In the first 30 seconds, the audience will decide whether to listen to you or to tune off from your talk, which we discussed a few classes before. So, this is the first one. Okay. So, the opening is powerful because it is different from the way many speakers open the presentations. Now, just go back to actually, go back to Susan Cain, listen to her talk, and look at any normal talks. Cain's talk will have these things. It will be very different from many other speakers who open their presentation. Second thing about Susan's talk is it will take the audience on a journey. Like, you make the audience visualize and actually walk with you throughout the presentation. So it will take the audience on a journey. Point number 3, whenever you say a story, the story should be relatable to the audience. You can't use a complex logic that you feel that the audience will not understand. The reason why Susan's title is so appealing is she's sharing a relatable story. And another reason why you should start off with a story is that people are hardwired to listen to stories. Because naturally, regardless of age, whenever people start a story, we find it gripping, we find it riveting. We always want to listen to such stories. So, start. My tip 1 for this class, start with a great opening. And opening is really powerful when you start with a relatable story, a story that is relatable to the audience, a story that is different, a story that is related to the concept of your presentation. So that is my tip 1. Tip 2, have really a surprise element that makes your story irresistible. So this is my tip 2 for the day. My tip 2 is that your story that you say should have a conflict in it. Think about the movie Titanic. See, when Titanic sinks, we are actually questioning it. I mean, we really question whether the characters will live or will they die. I mean, who will get a lifeboat and who will not get the lifeboat? Will the two protagonists, the main characters, Jack and Rose, will they stay together? Will their love triumph, or will the society separate them, or will they die because they are from two vastly different backgrounds? So there's a lot of surprise element in your story that makes it truly irresistible, and this is called as conflict. There should be a conflict between that gives a sense of thrill to the people, you know. This is called as conflict. Conflict is, will the characters stay? I mean, when you start a story, what is going to happen? Is there a conflict? Conflict between good and bad, a conflict between right and wrong. It could be a moral dilemma for you, it could be an ethical dilemma for you. I mean, when you talk about a particular situation, you could talk about something that has happened in your life, and always have a conflict element in your story that people would always love to see what happens at last, right? So this is what made Titanic so popular. So have some conflicts in your story. So my tip 2 is that try to add the element of conflict in your storytelling strategy. So you're going to come out with a 5-minute storytelling strategy, have a conflict in that. So tip 1, a great beginning that can relate your story to the audience. Tip 2, have some conflict elements. And if you look at great talks, most of the great talks have these conflict elements, whether it is a movie or a talk. Am I making my point clear, Balachandar and
Yes, sir.
Anna?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So try to bring in that surprise element in your story. And moving on, now there is a particular example that I want to give you in, because there's no point in talking. I should give you some examples. Now, see, there is a particular example of a TED talk which gives you a classic example of conflict. If you want, you can watch the talk. I have given you the link. See, the name of the TED talk is Why Domestic Violence Victims Never Leave. That is the name of the topic. Okay. Now, in this particular topic, this is one of the gripping, talks. But what makes this talk so powerful? Because of the conflict element. You will understand what I mean if one of you, I mean, if Balachandar reads the transcript of the talk, you will better understand the conflict element in this talk. Can you, Balachandar?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please read. Yes.
Connor used my anger as an excuse to put both of his hands around my neck and to squeeze so tightly that I could not breathe or scream, and he used the chokehold to hit my head repeatedly against the wall. 5 days later, the 10 bruises on my neck had just faded, and I put on my mother's wedding dress and I married him. Despite what happened, I was sure we were going to live happily ever after because I loved him and he loved me very much. It was an isolated incident and he was never going to hurt me again. It happened twice more on the honeymoon the first time.
Okay, thank you, Balachandar. Now, in this particular talk, it's an example of conflict. And, Leslie Morgan shares about domestic violence that has happened in her life. Okay, see, it's a very, very strong conflict. Aren't you quite thrilled to know by the end of the talk what happened to actually, Leslie Morgan's life? Is she happily married ever after? So, if you look at how she starts, now she starts about her husband. Connor used my anger as an excuse to put both his hands around my neck and squeeze me so tightly that I could not breathe or scream. And he used the chokehold to hit my head repeatedly against the wall. 5 days later, the 10 bruises on my neck had just faded, and I put on my mother's wedding dress and I married him. See, this is a great start. There is a lot of conflict, and you can easily understand what conflict is. What I mean, naturally all speakers would be riveted to their chairs to know what has actually happened in Connor's life, because she talks about domestic violence at the topic and gives a classic example of domestic violence that has happened in her life. So she starts, despite what happened, I was sure we are going to live happily ever after because I loved him and he loved me so much. It was an isolated incident and he was never going to hurt me again. But it happened twice more on the honeymoon. She goes on to describe domestic violence and how she was just beaten black and blue by her husband. And what happened after that? Was she just merely a victim to being victimized? Or did she actually come out of it? Is this true love where people, try to exploit the weaker sex? So naturally, if I were one among the audience, I would be really so enthralled, with empathy to know what has happened in Connor's life. I'm sure you must be pretty excited to listen to this talk. And this is called as the power of conflict. So we discussed the two strategies today. The first strategy is, starting with a great tale. To just go back to that, the first one is starting with an appealing story, and the second one is having a conflict element in the story. So we discussed two important aspects. Now I'll be discussing many important aspects on what can make your story so appealing. So because today's talk is on storytelling strategies, so I'm not asking that you have to actually apply all these strategies, because it may not be possible for the topic you choose. However, you can apply one or two of these strategies. Just as it happened in Aristotle's Rhetorics, it was not possible for you in your talk to, apply both ethos, pathos, and logos in your talk. It was possible to incorporate only one element. So after I finish my lecture, you can pick out certain elements and use those elements in your talk. I'm not saying that you should use all these elements. So my second element that we discussed today was conflict as a powerful element in storytelling. Moving on, third example. Okay, so this is just to reiterate what I have told you already in my earlier two slides. Share a personal story. Use personal stories, because personal stories are so powerful. Why? Because they give the audience new material. Imagine, both Balachandar and Anna, just imagine somebody coming and sharing a story with you, but assume that you know the story already. How many times it has happened before in our life? Many times instructors have started off with a story which I already know, and naturally what happens is that in the first few minutes you lose your interest. You don't relate yourself to, nobody will relate yourself to your story. So it's not about saying story. Storytelling is an art. It is not about, you always need to create your own stories, and that is a point I'm trying to make. If you're using a story which is already there, it may be very cliched, it may be hackneyed. People may not have the inclination to listen to the rest of your talk. So when I discuss with you on storytelling strategies, always have new material for the stories, because share your personal stories, stories that you have heard, stories that have happened in your friend's life, stories that have happened in your life. Not that it should usually start with once upon a time and have a great conclusion. Not necessarily those kind of stories. So that is why you need to share personal stories. And the third reason why you should invent your own stories, because they improve your delivery. Whenever you talk about events that have taken place in your life, you will naturally feel some of the emotions you felt. When you talk, it's all about feeling the emotions. When you are sharing somebody's stories, when you are sharing a fairy tale, you can't emotionally back off those storytelling strategy. Rather, if you share a painful story or a humorous story or a fascinating story or a joyous story or a motivational story from your own life, you will naturally emote better. You will emote better because it has happened in
Yes,
your
sir.
life. Do you agree with me, Balachandar and Anna?
Yes, sir. Very
Yeah.
true, sir.
Yes. So you that kind
Because
of
there won't be
emotions.
any repetitions. There won't be any repetitions of stories.
Absolutely, Anna. That's the point I'm trying to make. Because you don't repeat the stories which has been already told, point A, and point B is you will be able to emote your stories better rather than emoting what you read. So for these two reasons, you have to. So I am trying to, din one central message to you today, and that central message is the art of storytelling. And I'm discussing those strategies with you. And I'm just giving you two strategies. Start with a personal story and not with stories that are already, which people have heard. That's point one. And point two, that I'm just making in today's talk is, about, integrating conflict in your stories. Just moving on, in a nutshell, whatever I have discussed in this past, 20 minutes to 25 minutes, share a personal story, and the surprising element in the story will make your story irresistible. So what is a surprising element in the previous story? Can you uh, tell me what surprising element in Connor's story?
The conflict between them, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't know what is going to happen to Connor. Is she going to be safe? And you know only when you listen to the 18-minute talk. If you are really interested, go and watch that. Because I'm sure that this kind of beginning would have really given you that kind of, the excitement to watch. And naturally, when you're one among the audience, definitely you will be thrilled to watch it. I was really thrilled when I saw this start, because I felt, it's so painful for a woman to have this kind of, because the topic is so beautifully titled as, a person who is being a victim of domestic violence. And what is very important is, I was so shocked by Connor's audacity of, despite being so beaten black and blue before the marriage, she put on her mother's dress, believing that she loves him so much and believing that he loves him truly, and marrying her. And what is all the more, I won't say fascinating because it's a wrong word to use. And what is all the more painful is to see that she is once again being battered during the honeymoon. And it happened twice to her. And then she goes on to narrate the conflict. So it's a very personal story. So share a personal story, an element that makes the story irresistible if there is a conflict in the story. And the stronger the conflict, the more captivating your story will be. And this is a central message. And that is why some talks are so popular on YouTube that people go again and again and watch them. That it has 5 million, 6 million hits. Sometimes I used to wonder what makes this talk so appealing. And I usually look at the number of hits and I just go, why do so many people watch the talk? What is so appealing? And as faculty who handle rhetorics, and as a faculty who handle linguistics, I'm so interested to go and see what are those magic ingredients in those talks that makes it so special. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So in a nutshell, the stronger the conflict, the more captivating your story will be. So ask yourself, whenever you say a story, is there a conflict in your story? And is the conflict in your story strong enough? Is it going to arouse the audience emotions? Are you going to make the audience put themselves in your shoes? Okay, so that is what the conflict in a story is what keeps your audience curious. The conflict is what makes the audience ask, what will happen next? So the formula is, if there is no conflict, there is no curiosity. If there is no curiosity, there is no interest. Let me give you an example to further re-emphasize my point. Let us imagine Connor starts a talk by saying that, I have been a victim of domestic violence in my life. I met a man who was so violent, but before my marriage, but despite that, I believed him and married him. But these kind of violence violent incidences happened in my life many times. Let us say that she speaks in such a way, I'm sure that the audience will not find this talk so appealing. So that is called as the power of storytelling. So moving on to other strategies. Now we are moving to the next strategy called as providing sensory details to breathe life into your characters. So we are going to look at examples. Now what I would do is I'll stop with these three points today. The reason is, as I told you before, let me not bite more than what I can chew. Okay, so let me stop with this. We have discussed very little, but I believe that you are quite excited to know about the remaining aspects of storytelling and what makes these talks so popular. And as I said, you are just going to raise your bar and record a 5-minute presentation after the entire module is over. So we have 2 assignments to start with, but this 5-minute TED talk, I'll not ask you to prepare in a week's time. You start mulling over it now. Our first assignment is going to be review, the book review, which I'm going to share. I'll talk about this tomorrow, but mull over what I said from today itself, because once I finish my lecture, we are going to build on all the other aspects and what makes certain talks so appealing. Why do people go and watch those talks again and again? And perhaps you could deliver one such talk. And our attempt is just going to deliver a 5-minute micro TED talk, one of the important assignments I truly relish with my students. I mean, I'm sure that you will really enjoy this. So I'll stop with this and we'll discuss the other strategies in the next class. Have I made myself crystal clear to you?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma. All right, ma. Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you, Balachandar. I'll share the recording. Please watch the recordings. I'll just put it in the group. Anyway, you need to watch because you are as a part of this class. For the benefit of others, I should have done this earlier, Anna, right from the beginning, because sometimes candidates do miss the class. Probably if I record and send it, would have been useful to them. Yeah, I'll do that from today in case you miss, but that shouldn't be an encouragement for students to miss the class, because
that also should be there.
Yeah, because I need your motivation. Imagine there is nobody and I do this recording, and it will really demoralize me. So that shouldn't be the case. Yeah. So I just want everybody to come every day. So I'll share it because I feel that's very important assignment. So I'll share it with you. I'll catch up with you day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I have my lab exams, ma. So I'll do one thing, Anna. After my lab exams, I'll schedule my class a little later, ma. I don't want to miss because I keep missing because I was not well for the past, 2 or 3 days. Now I am a bundle of energy. I'm just back to my high spirits. Slowly I'll recover, but thank you very much, Anna. And I was really looking forward to meet, you and many students in my class. And naturally what happens is, after these classes, I feel better. And when I'm sick and I don't take classes, by the end of the day, I feel even more jaded. So it's good that I meet students, but I'll be more glad if all of you had come to the class. So I'll catch up with you tomorrow, ma. Thank you for asking. I'm much better now. I'm all right. Raring to go and raring to meet you in the coming days. So tomorrow, perhaps I'll reschedule your class, ma. Instead of, because I may have exams till 12 o'clock, I think. Anyway, I will post the timing. In case my exams are over before 12 o'clock, I will schedule it at the usual time. If not, maybe at 2 o'clock or something like that. Anyway, I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much, Balachandar. Thank you very much, Anna. I'll catch up with both of you tomorrow and with the rest of the students as well. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, I have a small thing to say, sir.
Sure.
Actually, you said about the a group you'll be forming for extra rhetorics thing, like with other people as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So that would be like other people from our college, or how is
only
it?
From your department, ma. Only your seniors.
Okay.
Only your seniors.
Okay, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to know about that, sir.
Okay. Is it okay with you?
Yes, sir. Completely fine.
All right. Okay, ma. Thank you, Anna.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thanks a lot. Yeah.